We're Charlie and Leanne, a couple from California who left our cushy suburban life to spend the next several years cruising around the Pacific Ocean on our boat, Juliet. And our little dog, too. In our last episode, we left Puerto Escondido for points north, exploring a couple of the many picturesque uninhabited islands in the Sea of Cortez. We had movie night aboard Juliet and then went snorkeling. In this episode, we're doing something a bit different. As we previously mentioned, due to the pandemic, we had to return to California, where we are still safely isolating at our cousin Leslie's home in Irvine. So in this episode, we're going a bit out of the timeline to share with you a fun trip we just took last weekend, joining our sister-in-law Linda and her husband Bruce on a visit to their cabin in Utah. Trust me, it's worth watching, if only for the exquisite scenery. So stick with us for this unusual episode, and the next time we'll be back on the water, I promise. Our weekend started with a short drive to Orange County Airport in Newport Beach, where Bruce keeps his 6-seater Piper Meridian airplane. We were going to fly to Cedar City, Utah. How one man can pull an entire plane out of the hangar by himself. Those gizmos are amazing. Linda was not with us. She was driving their truck out to meet us there. So it was the three of us, plus our dogs Mishka and Bubba. After getting fueled up, we all took our seats, with Charlie as the co-pilot. We waited our turn for takeoff, and then off we went. I've only been in a small private plane a very few times in my lifetime, and it's a completely different experience than flying commercial. Crossing over the nearby mountain ranges, you feel so much closer to it all. None of it seemed to faze the pups, who slept through most of the flight. After about 90 minutes, Bruce got permission to do a flyover of Zion National Park. We've camped in Zion before. In fact, here's a shot of me and the kids wading through the Narrows when they were teenagers. But we'd never seen it from this vantage point before. That canyon right there, that's the Narrows. Zion is only a few miles from Cedar City, so after a bit of sightseeing, Bruce headed for the tiny regional airport and lined us up for a landing. The wind had really picked up, so the plane was bouncing around a bit, but Bruce brought us in for a stunningly smooth landing. Cedar City is in southwestern Utah, about 250 miles south of Salt Lake City. It's centrally located near a wealth of scenic national parks, such as Red Cliffs, Zion, and Bryce Canyon. Bruce and Linda own about 500 acres or so of heavily wooded property about 30-ish miles from Cedar City, not too far from Duck Creek Village. And once we got there, we could see why they love this place so much. There are multiple fresh springs and ponds, and dozens of flower-filled meadows. It's crisscrossed with trails for ATVs, and at its edge is a series of cliffs with views that will truly just take your breath away. First order of business, get the ATVs out. We're gonna go have us some fun. Our first stop was the main family cabin, which sits right on the edge of a cliff, with views for miles. The interior of the cabin is cozy and perfect for large families, with a big central fireplace and a kitchen fully stocked with all you need for a huge group of people hungry from hiking, riding trails, and enjoying the mountain air. Bruce's family has owned this property for generations.
This is our big cabin. It's we're needing to do a little bit of maintenance on it, but we've got 6 bedrooms and can sleep about 20 people here.
All right, you two.
Lovebirds.
Time to head out for more fun on the trails, and this time We left the main dirt road and headed out to the real trails. And let me tell you, Bruce is fearless. Uh-oh. Holy shit. Ah! Okay, so you know where it ends, right? So it turned out Bruce did know where to stop, and he also knew where to go to get the best views. I'm not sure there are appropriate words to describe it. Oh my God, is she crazy? Oh God, that's too close to the edge for comfort for me. Holy moly. In case you're wondering why I seem to be freaking out a bit here, let me just admit that I am afraid of heights. Okay, don't go off the edge there, Mishka. Holy crap. Oh, and here's something interesting. Zion is only 4 miles from here as the crow flies, so there it is off in the distance. Of course, I had to get the obligatory cliff edge shot, but let me tell you, my heart was pounding. By the time we got back to our cabin, Linda was there already starting dinner. And after dinner, we got our first glimpse of the mountain sunsets. Quite a bit different from the sunsets we've been enjoying in the Sea of Cortez, but no less beautiful. And this peaceful scene brought an end to our first day at the Bulloch family property in Utah. The next morning, we had a problem to solve. We were almost out of water. This property is 100% off the grid, and they get all of their water from an elaborate series of tanks and pumps, all fed by the mountain springs. So we set off to figure out what was wrong.
The water comes from the solar spring to here first, and that was part of my conversation.
Jiggle that hose, see if it's got water in it. Is it?
Yeah, there is, because we heard it filling down there. So
Well, no, I know there is on this, but the one there isn't. That's the fill
this
line,
is the
right?
fill, and I just looked. There's no water going in.
Okay.
Something's not working right. So with Mishka taking the lead and getting in some exercise to boot, we headed down the trail to check out the solar pump. So this is the spring.
This is the one that has a solar pump. It's the only one with a solar pump.
That's the pump, but
Not running.
pump the water up the hill, but it's not running.
That is full. Yeah.
So, is there by any chance a reset button on the pump?
And usually banging it like I did.
Kicking and smashing it a few times.
This is the cable that goes down to the pump, right? And it's buried for most of the run.
Yeah, we don't have direct sun on the panels yet.
No, it'll be the afternoon.
But wouldn't they have held some charge from
No, because we don't have
yesterday?
batteries.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
Oh,
just from
it's
the
only
panel.
when it's. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a very, very bad angle right now.
yeah.
So this is one of the springs that they have, and there's a pump down there at the spring that's powered by these solar panels. And what that pump does is it pumps the water from the spring tank all the way up to a several thousand gallon tank on top of the hill. and from there they can direct the water to the other tanks, which go to the cabin or the pavilion, or they have a series of pumps that can pump it to other places. But right now the pump to this from the spring is not pumping, and we think it's because the sun is not yet at a good enough angle on these solar panels to generate enough electricity to run the pump. But maybe in an hour or two, once the sun gets a little bit higher, it should be a more direct angle and provide more power.
Here's Bubba drinking from the fresh mountain spring water. He was a thirsty doggy. Okay, no, the original cabin is not a nuclear fallout shelter, but they happen to have one on the property, which is kind of fun.
This really cute little cabin is from the end of 1898, maybe 1900. The original structure on the land, and Bruce and Joel reinforced it from the outside, shored up the structure so it wouldn't fall down.
They milled those timbers from a mill up here, and they're not very thick. But the only thing holding the cabin up is there's no frame, no structure. They just nailed it together with those timbers all the way up. And so it was kind of wobbly after years, and so we built a concrete, a steel frame around it.
Oh, that's what I'm seeing.
Those steel uprights are tied together across the with cables. Been here for 1,000 years now.
I love it.
The sun moved into place, kicking the solar pump on. Now we just had to turn on one more pump, but we'd have to wait a while to see if it all worked. In the meantime, the wild trails were calling us. We quickly learned that Linda is just as fearless as Bruce. Oh my God. What it takes to live off the grid.
Yeah, no kidding. You guys know it.
Another problem identified. There was a break in this white PVC pipe right at the valve. The guys replaced the section of the pipe and added a slip coupling to make future repairs easier. But we still had to wait to see if any of this is going to work, so off to check the next tank.
How does the water get from here to the house?
It goes back down through the white pipe. And that water is going to the house as well. But the valves at the house are off, so it gets pushed here.
While we were waiting to see if the water tanks filled, Charlie and I took the two-seater ATV out for a spin. Turns out we're not quite as fearless as Bruce and Linda, but it was still a gas. It worked! We have water. This meant we could shower the dust off, make dinner, and have a relaxing evening in the mountains. What are you doing, Linda?
Getting the potatoes ready for the mashed potatoes. And Bruce is getting the wine ready for the series.
Ah, yeah, Bruce has got the more important job right now.
He most definitely does.
He certainly thinks it's more serious.
Thank you.
drawers.
Productive day.
Yes. Handles on the drawers. Flowing water.
Water.
Yeah.
We took showers.
Showers, yes.
Well, see, I like him how I like my cheese.
Strong and stinky. Yep, exactly.
And this is how we eat at the cabin. After dinner, we headed back out to the trails to go see if we could find some wildlife. And we did.
Let me freak it out. Or not. She wants to go so bad. Oh, she didn't jump right up my lap. Right at the front door. Should I let her go, honey?
Sure.
Okay, hold on.
She's gonna go chase them, right?
Wanna go? Do you wanna go? Do you wanna go? Good girl. You gotta go.
Oh my God. She just wants to play. Look at them all. So many of them.
So pretty. Look at them all. Oh, we're gonna run.
She's like, oh, they don't want to play with them. And back up to the cliffside to catch the phenomenal sunset.
God, this time of day, this is spectacular.
Really is. Believe it or not, these are prehistoric shells. Here we are at 8,000 feet elevation, and we have shells. This entire mountain used to be under the sea. And after an absolutely picture-perfect day in the mountains, what better way to end it than with a roaring fire?
Put those other chairs on the front porch. Want me to grab them?
The other way.
Those little chairs.
Oh, that's okay. I'm a little cold.
Oh yeah, it definitely cooled down.
Some the far left.
No, yeah, thank you.
Sure is beautiful.
Isn't it pretty?
Okay, so where are we going?
We're going to a lake, Navajo Lake, which is spring-fed and winter runoff-fed lake in the crater of a volcano. There is one part of the lake where the water kind of filters down through some rocks and then hits the surface out at a cliff and is just a pretty little waterfall, and it's a nice walk to it.
We're at the trailhead for Cascade Falls. We're just waiting for the rest of our party to show up, but the view here is eye-popping. Behind me right there is Zion National Park. I've never seen it from this direction before. It's truly astonishing. We met up with some of Bruce's family and friends at Cascade Falls. The hike to the falls turned out to be just as scenic as the falls themselves, so off we all went. Grown-ups, kids, and 3 dogs. I've always been a huge lover of waterfalls, and this one did not disappoint. After our hike, we took a detour out to drive through Zion National Park. Linda had never been there, so I was thrilled for her to see it. It's just as majestic as I remember.
We just got back from Zion, an amazing day, hiking the Cascade Falls, and then we drove through Zion, and we get back to the cabin, and we saw squalls all along the way, but we get back to the cabin and we have this huge rainstorm, thunder and lightning coming through. I mean, it's super romantic, and then the view behind us with this rain. Oh, I just love this place. It's a really dark cloud behind me. I'm going to be watching that to see if I see any lightning streaks. I hope I do, because this is a lot of fun. It's just Mother Nature always blows me away. Just the majesty and the magnificence. And once again, I mean, we were seeing majesty and magnificence all day today, but then this is another level of it.
And what better way to wait out an afternoon rainstorm than with a friendly game of cards? After dinner, we headed back to that gorgeous meadow, hoping to find that same herd of deers. And sure enough, there they all were. And then back to the cliff's edge.
There's Charlie standing way too close to the edge.
Of course, we had to get the obligatory cliff's edge photos. I wasn't too happy about getting so close to it myself. I mean, just look how close we are. That's a 2,000-foot drop right there. Bruce and Linda, of course, seemed unfazed. Our final stop for the evening was back at the main cabin, where Bruce's family and friends were gathering for the traditional marshmallow roast around the campfire. This brought back so many happy memories of the years of camping with our own kids. And finally, one last eye-popping sunset to close out an absolutely magical weekend. And then it was over. One last flyover above the stunning canyons, and we and the doggies were headed home. So that's it for our land-based episode. Thanks for joining us. I still have a bunch of footage from our pre-pandemic cruising days in the Sea of Cortez, so be sure to come back for our next episode, where we will pick up where we left off. If you enjoyed this video, please click like and be sure to subscribe.